Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into configuring and managing a Microsoft Entra tenant, with a specific focus on built-in and custom Microsoft Entra roles. We will move from the foundational definitions of role-based access control to advanced governance strategies using privileged identity management. Let's start with the basics. Configuring your tenant begins with understanding role-based access control, or RBAC. Think of RBAC as a three-legged stool involving the security principle, the role definition, and the scope. As you can see in the first bullet, the security principle is the who, the user or app needing access. The role definition is the what, a collection of permissions like reading user data or resetting passwords. Finally, the scope is the where, limiting those permissions to the whole tenant or just a specific slice. It is crucial to distinguish these Entra roles, which manage directory objects, from Azure roles, which manage infrastructure like virtual machines. Let's look at the diagram to visualize this relationship. On the left, we have the security principle. This is your user or group. On the right, we have the role definition and the scope. These three elements converge at the role assignment. The assignment is the bridge. It takes the permissions defined by the role, applies them to the principal, and restricts them based on the scope, ultimately granting the specific access required to the resource. Microsoft Entra comes with over 65 built-in roles designed to handle most tasks. A common mistake is overusing the global administrator role. As noted in the second point, this role has virtually unlimited access and should be restricted to fewer than 5 people to reduce attack surface. Instead, you should assign specific roles. For example, assign user administrator to someone who just needs to manage passwords, or exchange administrator for your email admins. Using these built-in roles ensures you are aligning with Microsoft's security best practices right out of the box without reinventing the wheel. This diagram illustrates the hierarchy of power. At the top, we have the global administrator possessing all permissions. Below that, we see specialized roles. The privileged role administrator controls role assignments, a critical slice of the global admin's power. The user admin handles identity tasks, while service admins manage specific workloads. By moving users from the top box to the lower boxes, you significantly secure your tenant. Sometimes built-in roles don't fit. Maybe you need someone to manage app registrations, but not enterprise application settings. This is where custom roles come in. You define these by selecting specific permission strings, like the ability to create applications without bundling in unwanted rights. Note the constraints. You are limited to 100 custom roles per tenant. You create these by picking explicit permissions from the Microsoft Graph API namespace, tailoring the role exactly to your organization's workflow. Here's the workflow for creating a custom role. The administrator starts in the Entra portal and initiates a new role. The system asks for specific permissions. The admin searches for and selects very specific actions, like updating applications. The system compiles these into a new role definition. Finally, the admin assigns this newly created custom definition to a user, ensuring they have that exact permission set and nothing more. Once you have your role, you must decide where it applies. We call this scoping. By default, roles apply to the whole tenant, but that is often too broad. We use administrative units, or AUS, to containerize resources. For example, you can let a helpdesk user reset passwords only for the marketing department not for the whole company. We also have restricted management AUS, which actually block tenant-level admins from modifying sensitive accounts. Furthermore, you can scope roles to a single application, letting a user manage just one specific app registration. Visualizing scope is critical. The outer box is the tenant root. A global admin typically controls everything here. Inside, we have an administrative unit for marketing. An admin can only manage user A and B inside that box. Crucially, look at the restricted O for executives. Even the global admin can be blocked from modifying the CEO's account inside that specific container, enforcing strict protection for high-value targets. How do we actually give people these roles? You can assign them directly to users, but that doesn't scale well. The better approach is using Microsoft Entra groups. However, you can't just use any group. You must create specific role assignable groups with the as assignable to role properties set to true. This is a critical security feature. It ensures that a standard user admin cannot add themselves to a group that owns the global administrator role, effectively preventing unauthorized privilege escalation. Note that you must create these groups from scratch. You cannot convert existing ones. This flow shows the group-based assignment efficiency. The admin creates a specific role assignable group and assigns the exchange administrator role to the group, not the user. When user 1 and user 2 are added as members of the group, they automatically inherit the exchange administrator role. If user 1 leaves the team, you simply remove them from the group, and their administrative access is revoked immediately. Security is paramount when managing roles. You must enforce the principle of least privilege. Don't make someone a global admin if they only need to read reports. We also recommend limiting the total number of people with any privileged role to keep the attack surface small. A critical safety measure is the break glass account. You need 2 cloud-only global admin accounts that are excluded from conditional access. These are your fail-safes if your federation fails or MFA goes down, ensuring you are never locked out of your own tenant. This mind map outlines the core security strategy. Under least privilege, we target keeping global admins under 5. Under emergency access, we establish 2 cloud-only accounts explicitly excluded from MFA to bypass outages. Under isolation, we ensure admin accounts are not synced from on-premises Active Directory, preventing a local breach from compromising your cloud tenant. For advanced control, we use Privileged Identity Management, or PIM. PIM changes the game from permanent access to eligible access. An administrator isn't a global admin 24/7. They are eligible to become one. When they need to do a task, they activate the role. This is just-in-time access. We can enforce strict rules on this activation, such as requiring approval from a manager, enforcing a fresh MFA check, or limiting the activation window to just a few hours. This drastically reduces the risk of credential theft. Let's trace the PIM lifecycle. The user starts in the eligible state. They have no standing access. They request activation. The system forces an MFA check. If passed, and if the role requires it, it goes to approval by a manager. Once approved, the user becomes active and has the permissions they need. Crucially, once the time expires, say after 4 hours, the user automatically reverts to eligible, removing the risk of standing privileges. Finally, you cannot manage what you don't monitor. You must set up access reviews. These are automated processes that ask managers, does this user still need this role? If they don't respond, access can be automatically removed. You should also utilize PIM's Discovery and Insights to find legacy permanent assignments and convert them to secure eligible ones. Always keep an eye on the audit logs and PIM alerts to detect anomalies, such as a sudden increase in the number of global administrators, which could indicate a breach. This sequence shows the access review loop. The system triggers a monthly review. The reviewer, perhaps a manager, sees that a user has changed teams and denies access. The system immediately removes the role assignment from the user. Finally, this action is written to the log, creating an immutable audit trail that proves your organization is maintaining compliance and security.